Boy, the voiceover guy gets around, doesn't he? He's in Chicago, he's in Pittsburgh, he's in New York. You wouldn't know where he'd pop up next. A warm.
He's working hard, he is. He's working hard, I'll give him that.
Voice like liquid velvet. You could listen to it all day long. Packers Broncos is next up for us. The Packers travel to Mile High off that morale-boosting win at Lambeau over the Bears that puts them firmly in the driving seat in the NFC North. I really like this game. This, to me, is the pick of games over the weekend. This finally is the test that we've been looking for the Broncos to receive, and the Packers have rounded into form at just the time to give it to them. In my opinion, we've been waiting for this Denver team to get its comeuppance, and it hasn't really arrived. And so I don't want to sound like I'm hating the Broncos, but it has been a source of continual annoyance that they keep getting out of jail, and it's not that they don't have the talent and that we don't believe in what they have on both sides of the ball. It's just that, in contrast, say, to the Patriots, who we talked about earlier, who are maximizing what they have, the Broncos seem to be just about doing enough from week to week, and it's irritating to watch. Unless they unleash themselves this weekend and earn it, I don't think they're going to continue the winning run that they've been on. I think Green Bay comes into town here knowing that the Bears are playing the Browns and they got to play the Bears next week. So let's look at the NFC plot here, because it's very important to what's going to happen in Mile High. The Packers absolutely have to keep the foot to the floor here, because they'll fully expect the Bears to win when they host the Browns in Soldier Field. Packers travel there next week, and they'll want to have done so remaining on top of the division rather than to be chasing it again and putting even higher stakes on that game. I think what we saw last weekend was just incredible execution by the Packers, where everything is now functioning as it should be for them on both sides of the ball. They've had a couple of letdown games this season, most notably against the Browns and also against the Panthers. I don't see that happening in Denver. Look, it's going to be an absolute humdinger. Their offense, with all of the weapons that they've got at the moment, and with Christian Watson back and tearing things up as he did last week, is going to be a serious test for the Broncos. And they're going to be up against that fearsome pass rush. It's not going to be what Jordan Love faced against the Bears last weekend. You're dealing with the front four who can get home, who don't need Vance Joseph to be dialing up blitzes so that they can bring the pressure. And that's going to be something to watch, because Love's ability to pick apart the pass rush is a joy to behold at times. They got the receivers that match up well against that Broncos secondary too. It's a titanic battle. It's strength on strength wherever you look. I see the Packers just about coming out the right side of it, because I just don't think the Broncos are operating in the gear that they need to at this time of the season unless they show us something different. Brian?
I'm going to go against you, Connor. I think for the Broncos now, the incentive is huge for them to not only just win this division, which in all likelihood is going to happen even if the Chiefs continue to find a way to win. I think ultimately it's going to end up with them winning the division. In fact, it will if the Chiefs take care of the Chargers and they win this game. It's the number one seed. It's a huge piece there. We spoke there a couple of weeks back. If the Broncos, we can question the Broncos whether they're legit, and Broncos fans will get frustrated because they're there. They've won these games. They continuously win. Last weekend against the Raiders, a poor team, they left them hanging around. They did the job in the second half. So I get this narrative that we keep exploring, that they're just not at the level of other teams in the AFC, and when it comes to the playoffs, they'll quickly be removed. But if they get the one seed, I think that changes the dynamic of everything. To go into Mile High during the playoffs, which is a rumpus atmosphere, and I think that's what we're going to see on Sunday as well. I think defensively they're legit and has one of the best defenses in the league. They're going for sack records, and Jordan Love in difficult situations at times can lead to interceptions, inconsistency in the play, and I think that's what we're going to see on Sunday. I think they're going to put it up to them in terms of defense. And can Jordan Love answer these questions? I'm not entirely sure he can. He did last weekend, but I don't think he does this weekend. I'm going with the Packers. Sorry, I'm going with the Broncos. Denver Broncos.
Kieran?
Broncos are the number one O-line in the league. Nix has only been sacked 16 times this year. They're number one in sacks with 55. Quarterback hits 120. Sack percentage. I mean, everywhere you look, the stats are just they're on top of the podium. But saying that, I think they've just skirted by so far a couple of these games. I mean, they've also, as good as the defense has been, they've also given up 17 to the Raiders, and they gave up 26 to the Commanders. So they do have, I don't want to say they have an ability to give up points, but they can be got at. And I think this Packers team, with the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, but Love throwing it around, like you said, Watson back, Dobbs. I think the Packers are going to squeak past this one.
Right, good stuff. Lions Rams next. What a big game this one is. It's the Jared Goff Revenge Bowl. part 3 or 4 or whatever we're on right now. The Lions have recently had the bragging rights in this one, Brian, and obviously had that big playoff win, which is a huge one for them to have. But the way the Rams have been playing this season, Lions have been not at the level that they were last season, but pulled out a big win against the Cowboys last weekend. This one could not be set up any better.
Yeah, I like the way you said he pulled a big one out, because for 3 quarters it looked like the Cowboys could do them again. They kind of had the similarities to the Thanksgiving game where they went toe-to-toe with the Packers, and they came out the right side of that one. The one previous to that, the Giants gave them everything they needed until they found their way in overtime. And Jahmyr Gibbs is the kind of the lightning rod that gets this offense going. Even last weekend, he had like 7 receptions for 80 yards in the fourth quarter alone. Connor, like he's fast becoming their crucial player. Brown was injured. He played last weekend. He held his own. The Laporta injury is really affecting them offensively. It doesn't allow them to do the things which they can do, which is essentially spreading the ball out around the play. Williams had a big game last weekend. So, they've answered the critics last week, and they found a way to get over the line. Dan Campbell's piece after the game was really kind of the nature of the speed kind of remind me last year, where he said, like, teams are writing us off right now. You know, people think the Lions are gone. It's all about the Bears. It's all about the Packers who are in the NFC North. But we're still fighting for this division. We're still fighting for the playoff spot. But they're going up against a team right now, for me, should and probably will end up being the NFC representation in the Super Bowl, because of the standout team in the NFC this season. We could talk about the Packers, we could talk about your Bears, but when you look at a team over the course of the season, offensive, defensively, have put it all together. And yeah, they've had a few stumbles. There's games that they should have won, Connor. But last weekend for me was striking. I know it's the Cardinals. Cardinals have played tough against everything, but it was the nature of how they came out last weekend. And it was like McVay has been stewing on that defeat against the Panthers for that time. He said, all right, we're going to show the league we really mean business. And despite this great game that everyone would love to see in the NFC Championship game, I think I think this Rams team are going to have way too much for the Lions on Sunday. It's a Rams victory, and I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah, you know how I love the old trope of trying to predict what America's game will look like at the end of the season and what way the narrative will be for the Super Bowl winning team. I agree with you. That's going to be, if the Rams do go all the way, you'd be looking at that Panthers game as the one that really made them pull out all the stops, that really shook off any sense of complacency that they might have had. You could explain away a couple of the losses that they've had already this season. Tight one against the Eagles, tight one against the 49ers that could have gone either way, and where they maybe didn't get the break of the ball just when they needed it. The Panthers one will really have stuck in McVay's craw, and really seems to have, and they came out and played lights out, as you say. I mean, none more so than Puka Nacua is. They're a more exciting player offensively to watch in the league right now. He's just been doing it every which way. Strong hands. I remember Jordan Rodriguez describing him as having violent hands. I mean, what he's been able to do, the receptions he's pulled in the last couple of weeks, the connection that he has with Stafford, it's just a joy to watch. It's so much fun. And there's so much about this Rams team, of course, across the board. Kieran's spoken at length about what they've been able to do defensively and the scary talents that they have there. They're built to go all the way. They're not perfect, but no team in the league right now is. They're as good as we've got at this point. And even though I can see the Lions giving them plenty of it, I just don't trust the Lions play calling. I know you and I have gone toe-to-toe on Dan Campbell on this one in the past, Brian, in the fourth down calls.
You started again, Connor, yeah?
Yeah, no, well, I'm going to agree with you. I was going to throw you a bone here for once and say last couple of weeks, it's really irritated me, and it's undermining them. They really have felt the absence of Ben Johnson. And it's interesting as the season has gone on. You know, a couple of weeks into the season, it was, they're not really missing Ben Johnson at all. Now you're looking at it and going over the course of a season, you look at what Chicago's doing on offense, you look at what Detroit is doing on offense, and you really do see the absence.
I just want to show another X factor, and Kieran will love this because he was waxing lyrical about him last year. Blake Corum, the running back from the Rams, he's slowly starting to become a real X factor for this team, because Williams has been their kind of bell cow running back over the last years. But I think over the course of this season, we've slightly seen him come back a bit. I think like the robust player that we thought he was probably isn't there, and now you've got like a two-headed monster. We saw last weekend he goes off for a huge touchdown run. He has 2 touchdowns last weekend. Like, he's the kind of player now that will, evolve over the course of the next few weeks, and maybe he's the kind of player we're talking about. America's game, kind of, you can be talking about the likes of Blake Corum come next September before the new season starts.
Kira.
Yeah, I mean, I see the line is, I mean, the Rams are 5.5 point favorites, and rightly so. I mean, they're loaded from top to bottom. We all know the talent they have. I just have a sneaky suspicion the Lions have more to play for, I feel like. They're chasing the Niners and obviously the Bears in the division. And I think this is just, this is go time really now for the Lions. I think they're just going to slip into a different gear. I am worried, though, about the injuries they have on secondary. I think this is going to be one of those games where they're just going to throw the ball all over the place. There's going to be a lot of Gibbs, a lot of Montgomery, a lot of Williams. I think Campbell's going to dial up all these different plays on offense because he's only going to get one shot to beat the Rams unless they end up meeting each other again in January. But I think this is one of those games where I think the Lions is going to be a battle of attrition. It's going to be one of those 44-41 last man stand and just haymaker after haymaker after haymaker. What does make me nervous is, like I said, the injuries on the secondary for the Lions. Kirby Joseph's a question mark. Thomas Harper's question mark, but Brian Branch is out. That's a big loss for them on defense. Notwithstanding, I think they have the more, I don't want to say more dynamic players on offense, but we all know what Gibbs can do. I mean, in the blink of an eye, he can go for 80 yards. And I think it's just going to be one of those shootouts where the last team to score is going to be the winner. And I just feel like the Lions, just based on the fact that they've got to get this one, I think they're going to pull it out.
Colts Seahawks is next, and game like another one you mentioned a bit earlier, Brian, that we probably wouldn't be talking about because the Seahawks are prohibitive favourites here. And I realise I misspoke earlier when I described the Texans as being the biggest favourites of the week at 12.5 points. It's the Seahawks who actually hold that distinction. They're 13.5 point favourites, favoured by 2 touchdowns against the Colts. But we got to talk Colts because it's the return of Philip Rivers, 44 years old. A lot of mouths to feed in the Rivers house. 10 children Philip Rivers has. He's welcomed his first grandchild, or his eldest daughter did, into the world this past year. So he clearly needs the game check, and he's gone back to fill a desperate need for the Colts, who were 8-0 and absolutely rolling. As we all know, Daniel Jones has gone down. They had already been wobbling in the past couple of weeks, and suddenly we're going from hero to zero. But this Philip Rivers return makes this whole game very interesting. At least it will for about 5 minutes. The Colts, remember, are the franchise that pulled Jeff Saturday out of the broadcast booth to be head coach. And that looked fun for about 10 minutes. I don't know what you're going to expect from Philip Rivers at 44. Even if he's keeping himself in the best shape, and we saw Tom Brady play to 45, so it's not like it's unprecedented, to spring out of retirement, long enough retirement as it is, and right into action, I think it says more about two things. Firstly, that the Colts are quirky and they have form when it comes to throwing a mad one. And secondly, it says a lot about the paucity of backup quarterbacks available right now in the league and the talent that's come in recent years. I mean, the Max Brosmer line, if you like, the Riley Leonard line is just not where you want to be. You're going to need something a little bit more than that. It's a desperation move by the Colts. It will be fun until it's not, and I expect it to be not fun for most of the day for the Colts, who will absolutely get dog walked, to use your expression, Kieran.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go off on the Jeff Saturday analogy as well. I mean, never been a head coach before except high school. Oh, there we go. Let's make you a head coach. Let's see what you can do. And we all know how that ended. This is bizarre. It really is. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah, it does speak to the dearth of quality backups in the league. It also speaks to the attrition that you get over the course of the league. There's injuries all over the place with starting quarterbacks. Saying that, I would probably put anyone off the street over Riley Leonard last week, because Leonard was absolutely atrocious. He could not get the ball out of his hand. Lead feet. It just couldn't get moving at all. The Jags just teed up on him and made it just miserable for him. But I mean, this is going to be the story. Fox will cover this. ESPN. It'll be all over the morning shows before the games. It's just bizarre how Rivers is coming back. Great story, but I mean, hey, I got a guy for you. His name is Ernest Jones. Boom. I mean, this is you got a guy who's our age going up against absolute monsters. Well, Nick Emenwari,
yeah. You're doing me in particular a favor there. He's more or less Brian's age.
Well, I mean, listen.
No. I've got another 4 years on him as well, Connor. Just I look well.
Hard hitters like Kobe Bryant, Julian Love. I mean, geez, Emenwari, they're just going to tee up on him, and that's the thing. How long will he last? How long will he last on the field when he's out there? Because he hasn't been hit like that in quite a while, I'm sure. But I mean, that's the story, really. I mean, the Seahawks are going to put an absolute beating on them. It's not going to be a contest. The Colts, their will went out the building as soon as, even before Jones went out, but when Jones was injured, you could visibly see the players just kind of, shrugging their shoulders and saying, well, that was a good run. Taylor tried a little bit, but he was swallowed up by the Jags run defense. Tyler Warren had a couple of plays, but again, he can't do it himself. Couple of injuries on the O-line as well. So it's not looking great for the Colts. And you go into to Seattle. It'll be chilly. It'll be windy. It'll probably be wet as well. And we know what the Colts are like outdoors. This is the fourth game of the season outdoors. And I think they're 1-2 so far. And they just got smoked by the Chiefs and smoked by the Steelers as well. And also by the Jaguars. So not a great outdoor team, notwithstanding Phillip Rivers being in there. And the Seahawks, we know what they are. They're just loaded everywhere. Offense, defense. It'll be a game that Darnold will probably start picking off that banged up secondary and probably give him a little bit of confidence boost as they go into the tail end of the season. But there'll be full value for that 14-point favorite tag. And it's the storyline. Everyone, we're presuming that Rivers will be on the field. And if he's on the field, how long will he last out there against these absolute monsters? So entertaining in that regard, but hopefully he gets out in one piece. But it'll be an easy Seahawks win.
Absolute Disney movie if he wins, Brian. Like, it's nailed on. It'll be a sensational story, and it will be amazing to see. Is there any chance? Are you telling me there's a chance?
Well, I have a few things to say on this. I didn't think I would, because this is supposed to be not necessarily a pick-em game, quick pick game, but there's just so much this one. I wouldn't play him, because they should look at a situation that if they were to win 3 of their last 4 games, it's not against their own possibility they win the division, because the divisional game's coming up. They've got the Niners at home Sunday week. They've got the Jags at home, and then they're on the road against the Texans. If they get him ready, I know it's a hard stretch. He's 44. I get all that. If they have him ready, offense, locked in, he knows the playbook by Sunday week on a primetime game, it's not against their own scenario that they can find a way to win some games. If that somehow plays out, that would be a fairy tale in itself, that they go and win this division with Phillip Rivers as the quarterback. If they play him on Sunday, he probably could be gone and retired by the end of the game, because he'll be in for a beatdown. But this season has been wacky, Connor, hasn't it? Like, just the most wide open season we can remember in a long time. It wouldn't stun me if they went in and found a way to win with him at quarterback. But I don't think they should play him. I think they should hold him back for the 3 games, because I think realistically they're more winnable games than this Sunday, whether he plays or not. So it's a Seahawks victory for me.
Brian, you're on the clock again for Sunday Night Football, where the Vikings travel to Arlington to play the Cowboys.
Surprised it didn't get flexed out, Connor, to be honest, because the Viking season is over despite the successful bid they had last weekend in terms of trying to turn their season around. J.J. McCarthy played a little bit better against a banged-up Commanders team. The Cowboys, for me, are going to look back on this Lions game. It was there for the taking, and if they had won that, they'd only be a half a game out of the division. Now they're 1.5 games out. You look at the Eagles coming down the stretch in terms of what they've got. They should have enough to win this division. It's a Cowboys victory for me. Like, despite the indifferent season, I think Dak Prescott has actually had a really strong season, and it kind of, for me, solidifies why they gave him that contract. They've got all these attributes on offense. Pickens has been a great player. We questioned whether that was a right move at the time. He's had a good season. And it's unfortunate because they can put up huge numbers, but defense early on in the season has cost them this year. It'll be a Cowboys victory for me. A lot of soul searching with this Vikings team come the offseason.
Yeah, indeed. You still can't trust this Cowboys secondary, and Matt Eberflus trying his best to plug the gaps, and it has been improved in recent weeks. The Cowboys looked like, to me, they peaked when they beat the Chiefs, and they got a bit of a letdown afterwards. Dak Prescott was absolutely in his element in that game and has been superb this year, arguably the best quarterback behind Matthew Stafford in the NFC, and no surprise that he's been in the MVP conversation as a result. You expect the Brian Flores defense to play hard, just as they have done the last couple of weeks. But the Vikings just don't have enough, I don't think, to put this Cowboys team in the hurt locker, especially not away from home. I think it's a Cowboys victory. Kieran?
Yeah, Cowboys got too much. That Vikings win last week just flattered them a little bit. But yeah, Cowboys on offense, they get more than enough. They can put up 40 in a half, let alone in a game. But yeah, it's got to be the Cowboys for me.
And finally, to Pittsburgh on Monday night, Kieran, where the Dolphins travel to play the Steelers, who got things back on track in a big way with that win against the Ravens. Aaron Rodgers looking suitably pissed off in his press conference that people were doubting the Steelers or had been dumping on them, and took a little bit of a swipe at the media. That's where you want Aaron Rodgers to be if you're in Pittsburgh, right? Chippy Rodgers can be MVP Rodgers, as we saw from his time in Green Bay. Sometimes the more bitter he is, the better he is.
Yeah, and Chippy Rodgers is what the Steelers will want. They'll also want him on prime time because he averages 2.4 touchdowns and 231 total yards in primetime games in his career, and that's going to be more than enough to take care of this Dolphins team. Steelers are going to maintain that lead atop the AFC North. Again, we talked about how we have no idea how they got past the Bengals last week, but they did. And yeah, you got an annoyed, ticked off Rodgers. Again, with him behind center, I've said it plenty of times. I mean, all you need is a couple of touchdown or two, Boswell kicking a couple of field goals, and that should be enough. This Miami team, who's been serviceable, pretty decent over the last, I think they've won 4 of the last 5 of the last 6 games after beginning 1-6. So they're doing okay. Not a jam-packed schedule. I mean, we saw them dismantle the Jets last week. But the Dolphins, as Devin Achane is gone, so is the Dolphins. But there is questions about him and whether he'll be healthy enough to play on Sunday. I think he's going to wear a flak jacket. He's got rib issues or something like that, so he's going to be padded up to hell. But he's been Tua's safety valve. And we've seen Tua's output kind of, steadily stay around the 140, 150 yard kind of variety and a couple of handoff touchdowns, and just let Achane and Waddle, and to an extent, Jalen Wright do the thing. But the issue for the Dolphins coming in is it's going to be 20 degrees at kickoff, feels like about 7. It's going to be absolutely frigid. 2 is 0-7 when it's below 46 degrees. I don't think the Dolphins are going to have any, and we've seen them in the last couple of years, playoff games come out and be, look like they're not about it at all. And it's going to be one of those games. You got a pissed off Rodgers. You got a Steelers team who've, the Boo Birds have quietened down a little bit over Tomlin. So, they're going to want to keep, keeping that head of steam going. And it's going to be one of those, defensive performances. Now, I did see that TJ Watt has got a lung injury or something's going on with his lung. He was in the hospital. So even if he's not able to play, I mean, the Steelers have more than enough on defense to take care of this Dolphins team. The Dolphins streak will stop on Monday night. Really cold temperatures. They won't fancy it. Pissed off Rodgers, throwing the ball left, right, and center, doing the usual check down and trademark kind of belt, whatever move that he pulls. But it's going to be too much for the Dolphins. This is just
double discount.
There we go, the discount. But it's going to be too much for the Dolphins to put up much of a fight. I think this is where their streak stops, and the Steelers are going to maintain that grip on the AFC North and see what the Ravens and the Bengals are able to do on Sunday as they put their feet up. Yeah, it's going to be a Steelers win. I think the line is 3.5. It'll probably be a touchdown win when it's all said and done.
Brian, we saw some of that streaks beginning in Madrid, of course, where the Dolphins eventually got it done in the more comfortable surroundings of the Bernabeu with the roof on and much more clement conditions than they would expect in Acrisure.
Yeah, I thought the stats for Tua changed last weekend because of the nature of their performance in New Jersey. I thought that's cold weather climate was his first win on the road in cold weather. Maybe not at the same nature of what he's going to see on Monday night. Connor, I said to you walking out of Bernabeu, this is a playoff-bound team, didn't I? This Miami Dolphins team. Because
I remember us watching the game at one stage and going, that was a tremendous punt. At one point, yes. That was about the most exciting thing that happened. Other than Tua handing the ball off to H.N.
You're talking about the belt with Roger. The fan belt will be gone on this Steelers offense on Monday night because I do have the Dolphins causing the shock this weekend. H.N. is ultimately he's the X factor in this team. We've seen over the course of the season. Anybody who has him in their fantasy league would know well how successful he's been for this Dolphins team, and where he goes is where this Dolphins team go right now. Even last weekend when he went out of the game, I know it was against the Jets for all due respect, but he had 92 yards in the first quarter. He's an electric player. We saw it firsthand in the Bernabeu how good a player he is. We actually kept saying, why don't you just keep giving him the ball? He's that good of a player. And if he can get it going in the cold weather, that will alleviate the stress of Tua. And I think the Dolphins' defense has stepped up over the course of the time. And because Kieran O'Donovan was so down on them at the start of the season, and we joked and suggested they could still make a run at it, I am selecting the Dolphins to cause a shock. This is the Claxton alert. Boom, boom, to finish the show. Connor, Dolphins win on Sunday, and all of a sudden the permutations are kicking into gear on Tuesday. How does Dolphins team going to find their way into the postseason?
Well, that does indeed finish this show. We'll be back with instant reaction to the Week 15 action early on Monday morning, and then we'll have a more considered take live at 9 o'clock on Monday evening. Come back to us then on the Irish NFL Show.